at their marginal tax rate at a period in their life when they have no deductions. And so that's a tax catastrophe that's waiting to happen. And I mean, you got to begin with this premise that we're on this sort of fiscally unsustainable trajectory as a country. We have $36 trillion of debt that's expected to grow by another $2 trillion per year over the next 10 years, and then $3 trillion per year after that. David Walker, former Comptroller General of the federal government, says that if we don't change course, the tax rates will have to double by tax rates will have to double by 2030, or we go broke as a country. A recent study out of Penn Wharton says that if we don't right our fiscal ship of state, that no combination of raising taxes or reducing spending will arrest the financial collapse of our country. And so we're marching into this future where that's potentially cataclysmic. And I think we're seeing the Doge and, Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk and Elon Musk seems like every other tweet he's making these days is about the national debt. And so more and more people are starting to see the handwriting on the wall as it relates to the fiscal trajectory of our nation. And so most experts are now on board with this idea that tax rates even 10 years from now are likely to be dramatically higher than they are today. And if that is in fact the case, why are 95% of Americans still contributing the lion's share of their retirement savings into tax-deferred vehicles like 401ks and IRAs? In other words, they are getting a deduction at today's historically low tax rates only to postpone the payment of those taxes to a point in the future when most experts now agree tax rates are likely to be dramatically higher than they are today. And so really, why would you do a Roth conversion? A Roth conversion says, let's preemptively pay tax on that 401k or an IRA. Let's not wait until the IRS requires it of us in retirement. Let's pay that tax today, take advantage of historically low tax rates so we avoid having to pay taxes down the road when tax rates are most likely going to be much higher than they are today. And so the whole name of the game when it comes to Roth conversions is you want to pay a lower tax now than you would sometime down the road. And so we know that the Trump tax cuts expire in 2026. I personally believe that they're going to be extended because Trump campaigned on that message. And most policy experts agree that he's going to extend the Trump tax cuts because he has a simple majority in the House and Senate. And so that means we probably have about 9 more years during which to take advantage of historically low tax rates and execute these Roth conversions. And so the 24% tax bracket becomes the sweet spot in that entire process. Because for only 2% more than the 22, most people are in the 22% tax bracket already. So what we advocate for, and this sounds like this is the same thing that you advocate for, is you convert to the top of the 22. But remember, the 24 is only 2% more and allows you to convert an extra $183,000 and only cost you 2% on the margin. That is a no-brainer for most of the people that I meet with. And so it's absolutely a strategy that people should be considering of all times at this point in the history of our country.
You have to realize that someday you're going to pass. And I see this with kids of clients who scrimped and saved. Their kids end up pulling money out of the IRAs, and then they're in the highest tax bracket of their life, usually in the 30s. So even though you might pay more tax, slightly more by going up from the 22% bracket to the 24, you're saving future taxes when you pass. Do you want to talk about that? Because people don't give that much thought to that.
So people will say, I don't want to pay a tax because, I just want to pass all this money on to the next generation. I don't want to bump it to a higher tax bracket. But consider this. It used to be that you could do what's called a stretch IRA, where your children could stretch the tax obligation on that inherited IRA over their own lifetime, right? Well, with the recent legislation, that's no longer a possibility. In fact, you now have to liquidate your inherited IRA within 10 years. And Josh, I'm going to tell you that there's 2 types of children that are going to inherit these IRAs. They're the people that will spend it within 18 months, in which case they're going to take, and let's just talk about $1 million IRA. They're going to realize that $1 million of income on top of their own income all over the course of 1 or 2 tax years, right? In which case they're going to end up paying possibly 50% to the IRS, which is what the parents' goal was to avoid the entire time, was to give half away to the IRS. And then you're going to have the other kid that says, I don't really need the money. I'm pretty good at getting by, with my own money. I'm a good saver. And so what they do is they don't liquidate any of that money and they sort of forget about it. Okay. And then the 10th year rolls around and they get some sort of a notice, or they realize, hey, the 10-year period is over. And now I've got to liquidate all of that money all in 1 year. In the meantime, that $1 million has become $2 million. And then they have to realize it all as income all in 1 year at a period in time when tax rates are much higher than they are today, at their marginal tax rate, at a period in their life when they have no deductions. And so that's a tax catastrophe that's waiting to happen. And if they inherit instead a Roth IRA, they don't really have any of those issues. They still have to liquidate the money within the 10 years, but they don't have the tax consequences that go along with it. Why not pay the tax today at 22 or 24% levels so that your kids can inherit that money tax-free regardless of when they liquidate it?